Around 500 patients in critical condition are expected to be transferred to the capital Damascus for treatment. Last week, Bashar al-Assad was reportedly considering a request to evacuate 7 children with cancer from the area. There are almost 400,000 people in Eastern Ghouta are besieged by the Assad regime. Ahmed al-Burai is in Hatay, near Turkey's border with Syria. Hi, Ahmed. So we have been hearing for months how bad things are in Ghouta, and this appears to be some good news for some of the desperately ill.
Well, Aisha, the good news, as a matter of fact, is when the whole siege is completely lifted, the people there, as you've alluded in your intro, 400,000 people have been living under this siege since 2013. And it's only, according to the humanitarian aid agencies, just 500 people from that city are going to be allowed out, or they offered the list to Assad. President Erdogan himself was involved in direct talks with the Russian President Vladimir Putin to allow these people out. And also more pressure has been practiced on Assad to allow this to happen. Jaish al-Islam, the main opposition group on the ground, released 29 prisoners, according to the reports coming out from the province, in order to allow just 5 of these children who are suffering from cancer and malnutrition, because the conditions there are dire. Now, the situation is complicated because the opposition, they consider the lifting of this siege a prerequisite for any peace negotiations. And if you remember, it's the city that has been suffering from the chemical attack in 2013, and also it's the city that has Karim, the child who has the campaign for after losing his eye. So the conditions there are dire, and the people are asking for a complete lift of this collective punishment, as they call it.
And Ahmed, whereabouts are we with the peace talks at the moment?
The peace talks are in a deadlock, in a stalemate in the peace talk, basically because of this main reason. Now, the opposition group is saying that unless the siege and the prisoners, the siege is left and the prisoners are released, and these humanitarian conditions are alleviated by the Assad regime as a kind of at least a goodwill gesture that he is serious to go ahead with any peace talks to reach a reconciliation or a political settlement for the conditions in Syria. Now, I have to remind you that what's happening in this Eastern Ghouta province is a kind of a violation of all international laws, the UN. All the humanitarian aid agencies are calling for Assad to allow some aid corridors, to allow food and medical supplies, because the province is being living under this tight siege for 4 years now, with inflation. Even if they find the food, they cannot buy it. The conditions are completely difficult, and that's why these peace talks are not going to move ahead unless Assad is showing this. Now, Assad, by doing this, for many of the activists, is a kind of tactic in order to attract more opposition group to this. Now, what makes things worse also, Aisha, you have to bear in mind, is that these rebel groups on the ground, they're always fighting with each other to change hands of power over the city. And the people are left in the midst of all these kind of conflicts.